But hi everyone, this is Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. We'll be doing no save and quit, no wrong warp, no out of bounds. I'm Zorlax7, and I guess we'll just get started. Getting the countdown in 3, 2, 1, go. So, as I said, this is no save and quit, no wrong warp, no out of bounds. Let's talk about this category real quick. What is no save and quit? No save and quit's pretty obvious. We're not allowed to save and quit out of the game at any point. We're gonna bring up the save and quit menu quite a bit. We're allowed to do that, but we're not allowed to save out of the game. We're also not allowed to intentionally death warp anywhere. So I will take one death in the run, but it's not a death warp, and we can get into the semantics of that, what that true definition is, but we're just gonna say no death warping. So if I die more than once, it's gonna be unintentional. What's next? No save and quit, no wrong warp. So no wrong warp. That's basically in the title. Any screen transition or cave entrance or whatever has to take you to its intended destination. There's a trick called the doghouse glitch where you can basically warp to the very end of the game within 5 minutes. We're not going to be doing that. So we'll see a lot of just regular dungeon play. And this is quicksword. So you can grab the sword before the owl flies away, saves about 1 second. Last but not least, no out of bounds. What is no out of bounds? That's a good question. No out of bounds is basically no walking on ceilings and no screen transitioning from solid objects. That's what I'll leave it at that for now. Nothing more than that. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. There's a lot of glitches, a lot of sequence breaks in this run. I'm gonna try to keep up with all of them. Unfortunately, right now in this first 2 minutes, there's not too much until we get to our first sequence break. So I'm just gonna walk into the mysterious wood, and we'll see what happens. So there's this owl. The owl talks a lot in the speedrun, and we hate him because he's just annoying. He probably has the most dialogue boxes out of anyone in this game, and he just tells you where to go, and we already know where to go because we've done this a million times. I'm also in chat if anyone has any questions about the game, the run, the route, anything of that nature. Wait, this isn't Mario and Sonic? Oh no. I thought I was playing Mario and Sonic for a bit. So we're gonna go grab some rupees. We're also gonna bring up the save and quit menu on this chest, because when you bring up the save and quit menu on the chest, it cancels out chest text. So that chest would say, hey, you picked up 50 rupees, joy. Yeah, we just want to cancel that. So this moblin needs to face up so we can do this sequence break right here. Looks like that. We damage boost across the gap. Normally you're supposed to get a... Hold on, let me try this one trick real quick. Okay. Everyone watch the owl. Just keep your eye on the owl. Keep your eye on the owl. And that's the owl. We skip the owl by doing some weird save and quit nonsense, or save menu nonsense. It's hard to explain. It's not really worth explaining, but if you bring up the save menu, right, the same frame you open a chest, it skips out owl text. So yeah, about that sequence break I just did. So we damage boost across the gap. So gaps in this game have a property where you don't fall into a pit, a hole, until you're dead center in the pit or hole. So you can still kind of move around on the pit for a while. So we use that property to damage boost across that gap. So normally you're supposed to grab the mushroom, take that mushroom to the witch will make that into powder, and you use that powder to sprinkle onto Terran. Or you sprinkle that powder on the raccoon, and that raccoon allows you to go through the mysterious woods. But we skipped all that. I don't know I have no clue how much time it saves. That part of the route's pretty ancient. It's probably about 15 years old, but that part of the route's probably 10 years old. So now we're gonna go steal the shovel and steal the bow thereafter. Stealing is an intended mechanic of this game, and I failed to steal, so that's pretty sad. Stealing is 100% consistent if you know what you're doing. So this is the only intentional death of the run I'll be taking. And we'll buy bombs. This is the only reason. Getting the powder and getting the bombs was the only reason we got the rupees in the first chest of the run, anyways. So, got the bow, we got the shovel. Shovel's needed to get into Dungeon 3. That's the only time we use the shovel. And the bow is needed to beat the game. Final boss is only vulnerable to bows and arrows. Bows. Specifically bows and arrows. So we're making our way to Dungeon 1. Thief confirmed, yes. That is an unfortunate side effect of stealing in this game is that your name gets permanently changed to Thief, but it's required for this speedrun route. However, the Legacy route, Stealth Steal, so never mind. There's no speedrun route that goes thiefless, and no one wants to do that route anyways, because you would need to raise like 1,200 rupees of items, and it's just not fun. So we're making our way to Dungeon 1. Dungeon 1's actually pretty straightforward, because you don't really have any items yet, so you're just kind of making your way to the back of the dungeon to get the dungeon item, and then you make your way to the boss. So in addition, I'm also killing... You might have noticed on the overworld, I killed some random enemies. So I'm trying to manipulate an item drop called Piece of Power. We try to get 3 of those drops every run, and that item drops every 30 enemies, and it increases your movement speed and increases your damage output temporarily. So let's just say it increases your movement speed and damage while you're in a dungeon, and we use that 3 times in the run, and it saves maybe about a minute. What's the difference between Link's Awakening and Link's Awakening DX? Casually, there basically is no difference. If you just play the game through normally, you probably would not notice a difference. You might notice that the menu loads a little bit faster in Link's Awakening Original. There's a lot more lag in Link's Awakening Original, and it's black and white in Link's Awakening Original. However, Link's Awakening Original, there's a lot more glitches, and the glitches are a lot more difficult to pull off. There's the infamous cutscene skip, which is a 1-frame trick, and it's basically required you have to do it once. Literally, you have to do it at least once at one point in the game. If you miss that trick, your run is dead in the water. And that trick comes around 20 minutes in the run, in a 50-minute run. But luckily, that doesn't happen here. I didn't get a chance to explain super jumping, but okay.
And there's a chance we have a donation.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, we just got a big $60 donation from Jason Flynn. There's no comment, but thank you, Jason Flynn, for the $60 donation. That's amazing. Puts us up to $271.
I wonder if that's the Flynn of Flynn Gaming who does Link's Awakening Original. We'll never know.
Probably is.
Alright. I didn't get a chance to explain super jumping, but I'll explain it the next time we do it. Basically, we trick the game to thinking that we're on a pit, or we're on a cliff, and we can jump across certain gaps in a very specific way. We can jump up cliffs, we can jump up, down, we can jump through objects. Hard to explain without being able to see it, but... Now we're making our way to Dungeon 2. So that was Dungeon 1. There were a few mistakes in that dungeon, unfortunately. But we still need to manipulate for our Piece of Power drop. So I'm trying to think out loud to myself. So I missed the Spike Beetle kill. I got 2 kills going into... Got 2 bats going into the boss. So we skipped the Stalfo, so I'm 1 kill behind. It's very important, because I need to make sure I get that drop in Dungeon 2. That Dungeon 2 Piece of Power saves about 12 seconds, give or take. So we're trying to manipulate that drop by killing certain random enemies here and there. We do not want the acorn under any circumstances. Acorn just makes things slow. No quad there, that's okay. And this is the Moblin King. You can easily 2-cycle him. I'm going to probably fail it because I just said it's easy. But he just dashes in the wall and that makes him vulnerable. He's a little bit random with how long it takes to dash in the wall. That's a simple 2-cycle. Never do it the way I did. I have a habit of doing that fight in a very awkward way. And then we got Bow Wow. Bow Wow is a jerk. We need him to eat an enemy in order to get into Dungeon 2. That's the only way we can get into Dungeon 2. But before that, we're going to do something called flock skipping. So when a text box appears, when you touch an object, Link can move for 1 extra frame. And that 1 extra frame of movement allows us to just walk through those blocks. Normally, you're supposed to go all the way around. And here's where Bow Wow kind of comes into play. We need him to eat in order to get into Dungeon 2. There's so many things. I should know all this, what I need to explain ahead of time. Bao is also a jerk because he actually interferes with a trick later on. And that's Piece of Power, so we're going to get a little bit of a movement speed up boost. Let's see. Yeah, and also any enemy that Bow Wow eats actually counts for a Piece of Power. So I need to pay attention to how much Bow Wow eats so I can make sure I get that Piece of Power count properly. You don't need that powder. Picking up that powder refills your powder by 10, but we've used... The only time we want to use powder in this run is to enter Dungeon 2, which we just did, so... And I hope you like this Piece of Power music, because we'll hear it a lot. One of the reasons we have Piece of Power is because it makes this boss fight simple. It's arguably faster to have bow and just shoot the boss twice, but having Piece of Power actually gives you that knockback and that damage output. So the gimmick with this room is both ghosts need to disappear. Doesn't matter if they're dead or if they just leave the room. So we do that manipulation to clear the ghost out of that room real fast. It's about a second faster than basically killing them. In this room, we need to kill the bunny, the Stalfos, and the bat in that order. For the chest to spawn. We got good RNG there, so that's good. Sometimes the skeleton can move in the way. Ooh, got dodged. Sometimes the skeleton can move in the way, causing you to have to reset that room. Oh, my mashing isn't going through today. This is the Genie boss. The Genie boss, there's 2 sets of quick kills. So normally you have to throw the bottle against the wall 3 times for it to break. However, we're going to use a property called wall clipping, where we walk into a wall 1 or 2 pixels by walking into the corner of it. 6, 7, 8. And if we... Whoops, that's okay. If we wall clip, we can break the bottle instantaneously, and then we're going to lay a bomb, and then shoot a bomb arrow. And that kills the boss extremely fast. That's Dungeon 2. Pace isn't that great, but that's okay. Bottle guy. You Proto-magical girl knows all the text. Probably knows the text better than I do at this point. I haven't played this game. I haven't read the US text in a long time. So Bao ate 2 enemies right there, which is not what I wanted to do, because any enemy he eats does still count for Piece of Power, and we want Piece of Power in Dungeon 3. We dodged what's called the Heart Piece of Shame. You pick up that heart piece, it costs about 3 seconds because there's just text that says you found a heart piece. So coming up next, we're gonna do another major sequence break in this run. We call it Villa Skip or Richard Skip. So normally you're supposed to collect 5 golden leaves. You're supposed to go to the castle, collect 5 golden leaves, take those to Richard, who lets you into the backyard of his house, let's call it. However, if you pause on one frame, on the exact frame you land in a hole, the game thinks you're on solid land still. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. I'm just advancing the game 1 frame at a time. I'm getting a really bad skip. And game thinks we're on solid land, so we can screen transition down, and it brings us here. So that was actually a really bad Villa Skip. Villa Skip is a little bit random with how many pauses it takes you to complete it. And then we can just clip out of this area, because we screen transition basically into a bush, and the game doesn't know where to put us, so it just kind of forces us into the next available tile, which allows us to escape this area. I almost fell in the water there. This is Dungeon 3. Dungeon 3 is another one of those dungeons where... Dungeon 3 is one of those dungeons where it seems really easy, but for some reason it's very difficult. I'm trying to think how I want to manage my POP from here. You know what, let's take the kill. Why not? So we're just killing enemies, grabbing some keys, making our way to the mini-boss to get the dungeon item. Good. We did not want to grab that acorn. Grabbing that acorn is a huge time waste. So there's our second POP of the run. Not too important for Dungeon 3, it saves maybe 10 seconds. Unique property about this boss, you kill one of them, and then you leave the room, and the game thinks both of them are killed. So it looks like that. Oh, they're both dead. Yeah, there's something about the portal spawning confuses the game. I've heard many different explanations, and I think it's just kind of, you choose the one you think makes sense. So this dungeon is called Key Cavern, so we do need to collect quite a bit of keys in order to complete it. There's a lot of locked doors, a lot of key blocks in it. But we're collecting a lot fewer than a casual run, because we're going to skip a few doors later on. Or a block later on. So we got the boots. The boots increase our movement speed, obviously. They're a staple in many Zelda games. What's unique about these boots in Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX is you can move while charging them. So there's going to be a lot of times where I'll be charging them and then dashing around a corner. Just to increase that, just to optimize that movement here. And we're going to do another flock skip where we use text in order to move through an object. Unfortunately, I had a bad subpixel set. That's a 1 in 16 chance in order for me not to clip through that block first try. That's okay. I personally like having Piece of Power for this boss, because it makes the boss a lot easier to manage and makes him really fast. Unless he gives you bad RNG. So we need to bonk against this wall twice, and then split him in half. Dash. Oops, we're gonna have to do TGH strats. Unfortunately, I didn't do the boss kill the fastest way, which is okay. That's Dungeon 3. Again, still not quite on the pace I'd like for this, but that's okay. Now we got a large overworld section, wherein we incredibly break the game. So this overworld section used to be a lot longer, because we used to have to get Marin and do some of the side quests in order to progress the game, but we skip a lot of that now, but this is still a pretty lengthy overworld section. And that owl again. One day, we'll skip all the owl text. So coming up, we have something called bomb event trigger, bomb glitch. I don't know, I'm not sure what the official name of it is. Bomb trigger, bomb glitch, whatever you want to call it. Wherein we use bombs in order to activate certain cutscenes. So what happens if you lay a bomb, screen transition vertically, if you lay a bomb, screen transition, and move vertically all in the same frame, certain cutscenes will play out. So normally we're supposed to have Marin here, and Marin would sing to this walrus, and that will allow us to progress further. But we're going to do that. We're going to do those 3 things I said: lay a bomb, screen transition vertically, screen transition, and move vertically all in the same frame. For some reason, the game kind of freaks out, says, "Hey, you can't have 2 bombs on the screen at the same time. Let me just activate everything." And one of the things that activates is this cutscene. However, if you have Bow Wow, there's a chance that this cutscene would soft lock. Don't know why. So we're actually there's a unique property about the text box in that cutscene wherein you can move for 1 frame after when the text box is forming. So we basically left the cutscene in the middle of the cutscene. So I can't use any of my items right now, but I'm going to get my item use back by entering this cave and then coming back out. This is Landmola. We can shoot 2 arrows at him, and then he's down. We need to fight Landmola because he has the Dungeon 4 key. That's about it for this section. We actually don't... The only time we talk to Marin is in the very beginning of the run. when she wakes us up. After that, we don't see her again, which is a shame because Marin's one of the best Zelda girls. So, if you've noticed by now, I have a Chain Chomp. There was a Yoshi in one of the stores. There's a lot of Mario references in this game. There's a Kirby in this run too. The reason for that is because Link's Awakening DX was kind of like this after-work project at Nintendo for some guy. He just wanted to make I think he wanted to make a Link to the Past, but for Game Boy. But he also wanted to have fun with it, so he put a lot of Mario references, a lot of other Nintendo game references in it. So this is kind of like a fan game, if you will. After a while, he started working on this. One of the higher-ups at Nintendo, he saw this. He saw the game he was working on. He's like, hey, we should make this into a real game. And that's how Link's Awakening DX was born, and that's why the original creator decided to leave all the other references in it, and that's why we see a lot of references to Mario and so on. How the heck do people find out these random glitches? You know, I don't know. I found the setup for that glitch, but I did not find the glitch for that one. So we remember to unlock Dungeon 4, which is always good. We need that to continue with this game. We're just making our way to Dungeon 4. We're gonna enter Tall Heights. This cave system we see quite a bit in the run. Just like these few caves right here. Get used to them. We also have a trick coming up called Obstacle Skip, where we can jump across an obstacle. It saves maybe a quarter second every time you get it. It's one of the most important tricks in the run, and I did not get it. So I have to dash through that obstacle. I might have been on the right pixel, but it's not worth testing. And then we jump in the shallow water at the end to screen transitions, just because the shallow water decreases our movement speed. But now we're in Dungeon 4. We need to collect these bombs, because bombs are very important to this run. So we're only going to complete the first half of Dungeon 4. We're going to get the flippers and then leave. The reason for this is because after you complete Dungeon 4, there's a side quest with a ghost that appears. And that takes a long time to do, because you need to take him to... Oh, rip me. So that's not what I wanted to do. You need to take him to his house, and you take him to his grave, and he won't let you enter a dungeon until you do all that. So we just want to skip all of that. So we found out that if you save this dungeon for the very end, that side quest never triggers. So we'll save this dungeon for the very end. And that diagonal jump there kind of breaks this dungeon in half. Oh, I manipulated to get the fairy from this mini boss. I realized I didn't need it. That's okay. So that's the flippers, and we're just gonna make our way out. Goodbye, Dungeon 4. We'll see you later. Make our way to Dungeon 5. Still hoping that my POP is correct. I wasn't really paying too much attention to my POP count. I have a bad habit of not paying attention. And Dungeon 5 POP is the most important piece of power that we'll need. Okay, so we did not get it yet, which is good. We want it in the first room of Dungeon 5. Thanks, Mouse. I appreciate the good luck. And then if you mash jump, you move a little slightly faster in water. So Dungeon 5 is one of the most complex dungeons of the speedrun. It's really long. There's a lot of stuff you need to do. And that no save and quit stipulation kind of makes it even longer. So, we got a piece of power right where we want it, which is good. I lose piece of power if I take 3 hits of damage, and I do take 1 hit of intentional damage in this dungeon, usually. So, not 3 hearts, but 3 hits. We do not want to lose piece of power. So we got the first and only key we need for this dungeon, so we're just going to make our way to the first locked door of this dungeon. That jump is frame perfect, you can actually make it across that gap. We took 1 hit of unintentional damage, which is not what I wanted to do. I did not quite know how to handle that RNG very well. So this is the Stalfos mini-boss. We fight him 4 times. The first time we fight him, he takes 3 bombs of damage to kill. Second and third time, he takes 2. And the 4th time, he takes 3. You can actually hit him with 4 bomb arrows and kill him instantaneously, and he drops a key. But that doesn't really help out with the speedrun. The 4th time we fight him, he drops the hook shot, which we need. So I am 1 bomb short in my bomb route, which I don't like. 2 arrows short in my arrow route. Arrow route's not as important, but bomb route is very important for the speedrun. So that was the second fight. People like to see that fight. People like the way it looks. I've been doing the same fight for 3 years now. I don't even notice it anymore. We need to kill all the enemies for that door to clear. The third fight. There's another instance of that super jumping glitch that I mentioned. Kind of forgot to mention, really explain it when it appeared last. This should be our next intentional damage. So if I take 1 more hit of damage, I lose piece of power, which is not good. And you can just jump across that gap. Normally you need the hook shot to clear that, or to bring that bridge across. But with a dash jump, well-timed dash jump, you can just make it across. Again, that's due to the properties of pits, where you don't fall in them until you're dead center, and you can still move. So we got the Nightmare Key. I almost lost POP there, like I did in my PB. Now we're just going to make our way to fight the mini-boss one last time. Okay. So we can get the hook shot. Yeah, first try strats. Easy every time. I got nervous. I do not want to use an extra bomb. Or bomb arrow. I'm on the fence whether or not I believe bomb arrows were intended. I tend to believe that they're not, but a lot of people like to argue that they were intended for the game. Who knows? And that jump is 1 frame, or frame perfect, pixel perfect. So we still have POP, which is good, because it makes us run faster to the boss. Most runners like to drop POP when they fight the boss, because the boss, if you have piece of power, it actually adds a little bit of a knockback effect, or it basically adds invulnerability frames to the boss that you normally would not have. I don't mind that. There's a cool setup now that you can actually always, in theory, always 2-cycle the boss with no RNG. However, I'm not skilled enough to do that for some reason. No clue why I suck at it. So I just go with the RNG boss fight. So this boss can pop out of any 4 holes. You'll see the holes in a second. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can only cover 2 holes at a time, theoretically. So there's a 50% chance he will not pop out of a hole that you want him to. So I got good RNG on that cycle, bad RNG on that cycle, bad RNG on that cycle, bad RNG on that cycle, So that's a pretty below average boss fight. Each extra cycle takes about 3 seconds. But we got a sub 30 D5, which is always a nice place to start for this run. At least on my screen, I have a sub 30 D5. I'm not quite sure what the timer on the actual stream layout may or may not be at this point. So, beat Dungeon 5, got the hook shot, good stuff. We're gonna make our way to Dungeon 6 now. While you listen to me mash frantically on my keyboard. Yes, I do run this game on keyboard with emulator. I know, I'm a scrub. I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't know it was a big deal when I first started speedrunning. So before we can actually go to Dungeon 6, we need to get the Dungeon 6 key. In order to get the Dungeon 6 key, we need to go to the Armos Night Maze, or the Armos Maze, whatever it's called. We need to go to Southern Face Shrine. I'm just gonna try to not take damage there. So, some of these statues come to life when you touch them. So I'm just going to move them out of the way with my shield whenever possible. Because you don't want to touch any one of those statues after they come to life, because they do 2 hearts of damage. So if you touch them to make them come to life, it doesn't hurt, but after they turn to life, they do damage. So we have a quick kill on this boss, hopefully. I can do it. We call it boot strats. And that's boot strats. The casual way is you're supposed to fight that boss, you're supposed to shoot a bunch of arrows at him. The old speedrun way, we used to actually spin slash the boss until he dies. It was found out if you do that, it's the fastest way to do that, to fight that boss. We do a series of well-timed dashes and bonks. Oh, whoa. So I took damage on the Armos Knight, which I did not want to do. I was trying to take damage on the slime. That's going to hurt later on. So I have to take, in this segment I have to take 2.5 hearts of intentional damage, and I've taken 2.5 hearts of regular damage already, so that's a little unfortunate. We have 2 more hearts of damage left. So we should have enough to be safe for Dungeon 6. This is the last bit of intentional damage. So we have 2.5 hearts left. We call this jump the Zorlax jump, because I'm known for failing it, and I almost did. You're supposed to use the hookshot to clear that gap, but hookshot costs a menu. Although there is some speculation about if you have hookshot, you can actually have Bow Wow eat the cutscene up here. No comment on that issue. So I'm 1 arrow behind what I like to have, and I'm 1 bomb behind what I like to have. Arrow, again, is not too important. Bombs are very important. So Dungeon 6 is pretty lackluster. It used to be one of the more difficult dungeons in the speedrun route, but now it's kind of like, it's really boring in my opinion. Ooh, heart. So we went left at the very entrance of Dungeon 2 just so we can grab that level 2 bracelet. Level 2 bracelet is really only used, I want to say twice, or it's, aw, dude, that guy walked in the way. I was feeling risky. Oh my god, I'm bonking at everything now. I was feeling risky about that, but Moldor moved in the way. So we're gonna lose a couple seconds for that. Yeah, I think you only, for this route, we only need the level 2 bracelet 3 times. The casual route, having the level 2 bracelet allows you to push over the weather vane in the main town, which allows you to get the flying rooster. Well, we skip the flying rooster with the skipping the flying rooster glitch. So there's a chance, because I took damage on that mold worm, that an acorn will spawn in this Tektite room. Hey, there's a super jump up that cliff. I'm going to use another instance of flock skip. Oops, that's not good. It was not all the way in the wall. Just skip past that key block. The official name of the skipping the flying rooster glitch is actually the rooster skip. But there's another runner. When the trick first came out, I don't know, however many years ago, long time ago before I started running, there's another runner who called it the skipping the flying rooster glitch, and I think it's a fun name for a glitch. That was a very annoying pattern for that boss fight. The boss was not quite cooperating there with me. Need to collect those bombs. I'm gonna skip getting an extra set of bombs because I'm like that. I should still have enough, but I say that now, but I probably won't. Then you can kill all these slimes and open the doors without using a weapon, which is pretty cool. Nope. That was pretty embarrassing right there. So that cost about 10 seconds. I'm never quite sure what caused me to miss that double manipulation on the Themos. It happens maybe once out of every 500 runs for me. Probably closer to once every 200 runs. That was a D6 boss. I didn't get a chance to explain it because I was too flustered over missing the manipulation. Dungeon 6 boss. You can lay some bombs on his face before his hitbox before he starts talking to you, because he still has a hitbox before he starts talking. So you can lay 3 bombs. It takes 5 bombs to kill. So you can lay 3 bombs before the fight starts, then you lay 2 more and kill him instantaneously. And then we're gonna make our way to the quote-unquote skipping the flying rooster glitch. It's a double frame perfect trick that I hate, and I'm going to be doing it unbuffered because. But before we go there, we need to go swim up there to that area. So just mash. Before we used to warp there using Mambo's Mambo, warp to that area with Mambo's Mambo, but we don't collect the ocarina in this route because we have the bomb trigger glitch. Kind of unfortunate enemy movement right there. People walk in my way. And this is my least favorite owl of the entire run, because we just talked to the owl at Dungeon 6, and now we have to talk to the owl again. Don't know why. So remember I said get used to this area? We're back to get this area again. And this is going to be obstacle skip, so we can jump across that obstacle. It saves a quarter second every time we do it. So, again, so you don't fall into a pit until you're dead center in it, and if you use a hookshot while in a pit, there's one frame where the game thinks you're on solid land, and therefore you can jump. So we're going to be doing that twice to clear this gap. Okay, I'm actually feeling a little bit nervous, so I have to buffer it. And then Bow Wow got in the way, which is nothing. There's nothing I can do about that. So every time I fail that trick, it costs about 30 seconds, and Yeah, that's all I can say. Bow got in the way, and I can't fire my hookshot when Bow is in the way. So that does happen sometimes. And that's not what I want. No, I'm still not high enough for this trick to work. Not far enough left for this trick to work. Gotta keep on moving. I'm still too far to the right, so I have to, okay. That was all my fault twice. Well, that was my fault once. I took too short of a jump, and could not clear the, I could not get that. That's all I can say, I was too short of a jump there. That's gonna have to be for now. So unfortunately, we've probably lost over a minute on this trick. This trick is required for the run. That jump was correct. Bow was like, trying to get in the way. Can't find the rhythm. Okay, any day now. We're gonna have to buffer it. I can't. So I would say, all in all, trying to do that trick right there, I probably lost about minute 40. Probably closer to a minute 20. But we got through it. Double frame perfect tricks sometimes do that to you. It's really strange how I couldn't find the rhythm for the jumps. I've been actually struggling with rooster skip recently. I'd say before this, my rooster skip success percentage was around 87%. In practice the other day, I was getting less than 50, so there's a problem there. I have not been able to figure out what went wrong with my hands. That's okay. We're done with that. We're moving on. We're gonna do another bomb trigger to open up Dungeon 8. So normally need the ocarina, play the Frog Song of Soul, that brings the turtle to life, but we can just use the bombs to do that. This is Dungeon 8. Dungeon 8's also really broken. It's hard to find a dungeon that's not in the speedrun route. So if we clip into a block, we can actually push it sideways. That destroys the dungeon. It breaks the dungeon wide open. Grab that key, grab this key, whoops. Now I'm gonna have to take the safety hearts, because the mini-boss does do 1 heart of damage. Oops. I probably could have went under that. That's okay. This is Blano, the mini-boss. See, I would have died. He's a little tricky. He's hard to predict. Sometimes he just moves just a little bit like towards you, which throws off your entire rhythm for killing him. But a few well-placed spin slashes and he's down. And we got the fire rod. We need the fire rod to get through this dungeon. Fire rod also makes Dungeon 7 boss a lot easier, so that's nice. It's actually the magic rod, but I call it the fire rod because I'm like that. can fall down ladders by just tapping down. And remember the mini boss from Dungeon 4? Well, he makes a reappearance here. And you can stun lock him in the corner. So we have to push this tile block and fill in all the holes. You can actually jump while you're pushing the tile block. So I'm going to try to jump to the area where the chest is going to spawn, which is right about there. And I'll finish out the puzzle. So that's my really wonky strat for that room. Everyone kind of has their own strat, their own puzzle solution. That's the one I found that's the only one I can remember, and it's really ridiculous for some reason. So there you go. We have to grab those arrows. I'm not gonna be able to explain this in time because I always forget about this trick, but we have to do a frame perfect lava jump, or we did a frame perfect lava jump, which allowed us to do a super jump. This boss, only strategy is just to mash and not die, like I died. 5th time in my career I've done that. That's been happening way too frequently. That's the unintentional death of the run. Unfortunately, we're not having a good day today. We're just having a bad day. That's fine. We can fight him again. Getting the sub-hour is going to be a struggle. We also have a graphical glitch coming up. Not really a glitch. We call it the Wang, because it looks like that. But we're going to make our way to Dungeon 7 now. Pretend like Dungeon 8 never happened. Pretend like Rooster Skip never happened. That's all that matters. I actually hate this route to Dungeon 7. I find it to be one of the most boring parts of the run. So we just have to run through these caves, and that's about it. Nice. There's my first missed menu of the run. That was probably the right height for that, but that's okay. Running through caves, running through caves. That's all we can do. Alright, so we're gonna try to do a glitch where we have Bow Wow eat the cutscene. There's a Dungeon 7 unlock cutscene. Dungeon 7 needs to turn around in order for the entrance to be shown, and then Bow Wow can eat it. And there you go. That's it. Actually, having Bow Wow eat that cutscene saves about 4 seconds. So we're gonna do one of the new routes in Dungeon 7. Remember that bomb trigger I told you about? You can actually perform that glitch by laying bombs in a pit. If you lay 2 bombs in a pit within, there's a Kirby, within 3 frames of each other, you actually activate the trigger. So we're going to break all the pillars with bombs by just laying them in a pit. Okay, we're really short on bombs now.